Welcome back to Tales from the Jar Side, the video series where if you don't feel like reading my newsletter, that's fine. I'll be happy to read it to you. This week's title, as you can see, is Tales from the Jar Side, Mockito Made Clear released. My book is finally out. Medium posts associated with that. A new video on the YouTube channel separate from that. A chess position for the ages, I'll have to explain that, and many other posts, some of which are supposed to be pretty funny. So the subtitle is, Why Aren't Koalas Bears? Because they don't meet the koalifications. Oof. Ready? I'm ready this time. There's your rim shot. It turns out that's actually true. Koalas are not bears. They are marsupials. I should have known that. I'm sure many of you know that. I actually had to look it up just to be sure. But I love the idea of koalifications. My wife thought that was a real groaner, so okay, so be it. They can't all be great here. All right, welcome, fellow jarheads, to Tales from the Jar Side, the Cousin IT newsletter for the week of January 22nd through 29th, 2023. Today is January 30th, which is when I record the video, a day after the newsletter comes out. This week, I taught my regular Spring Data JPA course as an NFJS, no fluff, just stuff, virtual workshop. Regular readers of and listeners to, and of course viewers of, this newsletter are affectionately known as jarheads and are far more intelligent, sophisticated, and attractive than the average newsletter reader or listener or viewer. If you wish to become a jarhead, please subscribe using this button. Of course, it shows me already subscribed, so I can't show you the button, but I think you get the idea. And let's dive in. So the first section is entitled Mockito Made Clear, finally available. And here is a snapshot of the pragmatic, actually I shouldn't cover that, the pragmatic bookshelf homepage. Let me open that in a new tab. And you can see there in the featured book section, this is at pragprog.com. In the featured book section is Mockito Made Clear, Java unit testing with mock stubs and spies. And I can even click on it and go to the page itself. Now in the newsletter, I added a little bit of highlighting, as you might see. Might be able to see here, so I got some exclamation points and a bunch of arrows and the highlight around the title and the word yay, and you can even barely make out here a little smiley face that I added around it. So be it. Did I do enough to highlight the book? Maybe I need a few more arrows, or maybe less is more in situations like this. It also looks like the Prags are getting pretty creative with their covers. I, too, am drawn to the weirdness that is that one over here, which is apparently numerical brain teasers. We'll find out what that's about. The one with the little prairie dogs on it looks kind of interesting, too, although I don't do anything with Phoenix or Elixir or whatever. At any rate, I like the covers there. I might have to look into that. I like my book's cover better. I mean, it's nice and spare and simple and elegant. It even conjures up images of lime, mojitos, if you will. Mockito, get it? At any rate, it also has my nemesis/hero Venkat Subramaniam's name on it, since he wrote the foreword, which, thank you, Venkat. So I guess that's okay. By the way, Venkat says you should buy my book, and Venkat is typically right about things like that. If you do, don't forget to use the coupon code KKMockito35 to get a 35% discount on a $10 ebook. But hey, every little bit helps. The company, Pragmatic Programmers, also sent out a Medium post announcing the book from Margaret Eldridge. She's my editor and also handles the Medium channel. If I go there, you can see it's just like the cover, the image I took a snapshot of. And it just basically is announcing the book. They do have it with a giant cover here. See, Java unit testing with mock stubs and spies, and my name and Margaret's name, and oh, they don't have Venkat's name on the cover. Oops. It's at the homepage, right? Yeah, so you can see it here, and I don't think I can click on that. Can I see it? Yeah, see there, forward by Venkat Subramaniam. So it's, oops. Any rate, let me just close that. Any rate, that one doesn't have the name on the cover, so go ahead. Don't tell Venkat, okay? I'm not going to let him know, so moving on. So yeah, the book's a thing now, honest and for true. So the editor, Margaret, also published 2 of the Medium posts that I had in the queue for when the book was released. One is called Why Use Mockito at All, and addresses the question of, well, why you might want to use Mockito at all. I'm not going to go over the post, but let me just show you one highlight out of it. Inside this post, if you take a look, it discusses having a class that you want to test, which includes a couple dependencies, and then avoiding using Mockito by writing your own mock object, or what they call a fake, actually, in this case, an in-memory person repository, and going on and writing the test. And it talks about the downsides of doing that, because you can do that if you want, obviously. It's a continual debate in the industry as when you should use a tool like Mockito and when you should avoid one. At any rate, I talk about what the downsides are, and then I show a similar test using Mockito. That's why it looks long. I'm just doing multiple tests there. And I go through the various pieces. And the bottom line is that Mockito automates the process of generating those fake objects for your dependencies automatically, makes it very easy to set their expectations to get them to do what you want, and allows you to verify the interaction between your class and that you're testing and the dependencies themselves. So they can be very useful. But again, I'm not here to sell you on it. I just wanted to show you the blog post. You're welcome to take a look if you like. All the code, of course, is in the GitHub repository for the book. Okay. So the other post that was put up is another one, part 1 of 3 of posts I'm calling Unboxing Day, which is about a gag I described in last week's newsletter, if you saw that, which was the silly idea of making an unboxing video for an ebook. So first, here was the Mastodon post that Margaret put up, an outrageously silly unboxing project. I've always wanted to write an outrageously silly post for the Mockito Made Clear ebook, but then you'd not believe how much time we spent creating the 85-page ebook itself. 85 pages, it's supposed to be 50. Oh well. Congratulations, it's a wrap. At any rate, here's the post itself. Let me open it in a separate tab here. I already described last week some of what this is about. For example, step 0, let me skip down. Step 0 was buy the book, save it locally, click on the PDF, and have it open in whatever associated program you have available for it. Fine. And then step 1, to make this thing a little bit more complicated, was to use the java.awt.desktop class, that old thing, and that allows you to launch a registered application programmatically. So what I did is I have this little code snippet here where I say, if desktop is supported, then get the desktop and open the file with that name. And there we go. And the rest is checked exceptions. And I have a little test for it that doesn't actually test anything, but it does run it. And I've got an EPUB, The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, included in the project, so you could try it out if you feel like it. So I guess I did tell you about all the stuff in that post. At any rate, all the code is in this GitHub repository. Again, the reason I'm doing this is if you go to Amazon. So here I go to Amazon, and I go to my Help Your Boss Help You book. Oh, I was hoping it'd be right near the top. Let's put my own name in there. That ought to do it. Yep, here it is. Help Your Boss Help You. You can see it's available in the Kindle form and as an audio book from Audible and as a paperback. And if I go to the paperback version, you will see, if I scroll down on the page, that there's a place for an unboxing video. And they all the pages at Amazon have a little section for that, where you can add your video for a product. And I put in unboxing of the first print copies ever of that. And yep, we get it. And you can take a look if you like. And I have no idea whether that affects sales in any way whatsoever. But hey, I need an unboxing video. And the problem, of course, is that my book is an ebook. So how the heck am I going to make an unboxing video for an ebook? Well, you see what the beginnings of what I'm doing. So I just talked you through most of that Medium post. You could see that Margaret added a picture from Shutterstock, which basically shows someone from the Ministry of Silly Walks. I think that's great. I'm totally cool with that. But please don't ask me to try to walk that way. I think I put a link to the YouTube video of that skit, so you get to watch John Cleese do things that are not really physically possible, but be my guest. So I already talked about what is going on. I want to emphasize I have not yet recorded the video because, as it turns out, the book's not there. I mean, I shouldn't have closed Amazon quite so quickly, but if I try to search on, let's put it in quotes, Mockito Made Clear, and I'll put my name on it too, and nothing. I get clear backpacks. Clear backpack. Okay. Related to your search, walking. I mean, what the heck? I don't know where they're getting any of this, you know? Now, by the way, oh, and I expect that to show up. I expect that because I was worried there for a moment that there wouldn't be a page at Amazon because there's no print book. But if I put in another book in the Pragmatic Answers series, and, you know, Venkat, of course, has one of those. Venkat Subramaniam has, let's see, Programming Kotlin, Functional Programming. Yeah. I mean, they're all good. Don't get me wrong. But, you know, where is it? Here it is. Programming DSLs in Kotlin is in the Pragmatic Answers series, which means it's only an ebook. You see there's a Kindle version. So they do have a page for this. Ooh, does Venkat have a video? Ha, I bet he doesn't. Yeah, see? Help others learn more about this product by uploading a video. Upload your video. I totally have to do that. I totally have to make a video for Venkat's book. Okay, I'll let you know when that happens. But at any rate, my book doesn't even have a page yet, so there's no point in making the video yet. I'm actually going to put up multiple videos with the parts 1, 2, and 3 and go through all that. So again, there's the concept and what I'm planning to do with it. Now in part 2, which should come out this week, the idea is to then show how to programmatically download a book from a Dropbox link. Because when you buy books at Pragmatic Programmers, they offer to add them to your Dropbox account if you connect your Dropbox account. That turned out to be a little bit more complicated than I expected. Now, I was able to use the HTTP client library that was added in Java 11, and that's the first chance I've had to use the of-file body handler. Okay, now I know how that works. I also used an input stream and a try with resources block combined with a files.copy method in Java New IO. That turned out to work pretty well. And then I found out that Apache Commons IO, that project, has a class called FileUtils that has a copy URL to file method. Wow, that was good too. So I put all three of them in there. One little quirk, which is in the blog post, is that the shareable links from Dropbox don't work by themselves programmatically. They work in a browser, but not programmatically. I had to change one of the query string parameters, the DL, from 0 to 1, and that made it work. I'm still not exactly sure why. I'll have to look at the headers and things like that this week, but at any rate, I did eventually get it to work. If you can't stand the suspense, all the code is in the GitHub repository right here, which is, of course, called unboxing. So you're welcome to that. github.com/mylastname, KOUSEN/unboxing. Feel free to send pull requests or what have you. Okay, next section. I have a new video on the Tftjs channel, the Tales from the Jar Side channel. I wish that was a pronounceable acronym. I got to find something better. Speaking of my misguided attempts to become a YouTuber, there were two significant events associated with that this week. First, when I recorded the video for last week's newsletter, instead of doing it all in one session, some of you may be aware that I decided to separate each section into its own video. Then I made a playlist of all 5 sections, so it looks like this. And when I go over there, let me stop it from playing. Stop. You can see there's a playlist. It's got the date on it for the newsletter, and there's all the individual videos, which I again put the date on. And I thought this was going to be very welcomed because it makes it very easy to skip from one to the next in case you're not interested in any particular section. If you're interested in the multi-track a cappella recording, but not unboxing the unboxable, etc., then you can jump around. Well, as I say here, if I judge by the number of views, it turned out to be a surprisingly bad idea. I thought it was good to separate them, But one problem is YouTube really doesn't like it when you try to release several videos all at once or within an hour or something like that. I tried to stagger them by a few minutes or whatever. That didn't work at all. People got notified of one or maybe a different one or nothing. I posted the playlist on Twitter and Mastodon, and I think even LinkedIn, but just the number of views didn't work. So the viewers didn't like it either. And my social media consultant, unpaid, which happens to be my son, by the way, that's who does that. He has opinions about these things. He didn't like the idea at all. He thought that was a bad move. And of course, I was on vacation when I did it, so I listened to my friends instead of my son. And well, there you go. So live and learn. So this week's video, as you can see, is all one thing, but I do have section markers inside the video. So as long as you're not full screen, you could see them along the bottom of the video. You can click on individual sections to jump to those if you feel like jumping around. Also, last week I was on vacation. We were in Florida, which was sunny but still kind of cold. So I recorded these videos outside while I was in the sun, and that taught me two things. One is that microphones are really good at picking up wind noise, even when you don't think there's a lot of wind. And also the sun actually moves, and it casts shadows, which also move. And I wasn't even thinking about that. So the videos are not necessarily what they could have been, but hey, nobody watched them anyway. No, that's an exaggeration. Some people did, and if you did, thank you. But at any rate, I probably won't be doing that again for a while. The flight home, I had a bit of an adventure. We didn't think we were going to make our connection in Chicago at all. We really had to do what I consider running, even though I don't really run. My wife was faster than I was, which was impressive. We got on the plane. They closed the door. That's all I'm going to say about that. Most people find travel stories from other people not terribly interesting, even though they're vital to the people it happened to. So I'm just going to move on. At any rate, the other event on the YouTube channel is I realized I didn't have any kind of introductory video. And if you see the name Tales from the Jar Side and you're not necessarily technical, you don't get the idea of what jar is or anything like that. So I made a video, let me refresh this so you can see the whole thing here, called Why Tales from the Jar Side. And I added it as the initial explainer, the introductory one. And it explains what the title means, what jar means and everything, what you should expect to see on the channel, and how often new videos will appear, which presumably is once a week, presumably on Mondays. I mean, that's what I'm going to be aiming for. So if you're interested, feel free to take a look. I tried to set it up so if you've watched it once, it doesn't bother you again. But I don't know if I got it right or not. I'm still figuring all this stuff out. Feel free to let me know. So at any rate, there's that one. The video, by the way, containing my 7-part Ave Maria with Jared Halley that I announced a couple weeks ago, that's this one here with all the different parts in it and everything. If I jump to the middle, you can see all the different sections. That's got like over 425 views now. It's 426 today. Wow. Hey. Which is really cool. And I do recommend taking a look or sharing that, even though it has nothing to do with Tales from the Jar Side necessarily, but it was an adventure. I enjoyed it. And it's pretty good, I think. So at any rate, letting you know. Next section is tweets and toots. So this is where I go through various Twitter tweets and Mastodon posts and show the ones I thought were entertaining or funny or what have you. I'm not going to rant about Twitter again this week other than to say I'm getting close to giving up on it. That awful app, the mobile one, the official one on my phone is just awful. It's getting to be too much to bear. I've taken to blocking any advertiser I see too often, and that helps, but the overall experience is bad. There's just so many people I follow that haven't moved to an alternative yet, and especially when, like last week, there was a major chess tournament going on, and that was my way of following the grandmasters and the sites and everything. It's hard not to have that available. But the ads, promoted tweets, and the general evil that you just cannot escape is too much. And I blame Elon entirely for this because he wants it this way. It's just awful. But here are some of the reasons I'm still there, along with some Mastodon posts, like this one called Titles Are Hard. Harper Lee saying, I don't know what to call my novel, and Mockingbird saying it's probably garbage anyway. And Harper Lee picking up a gun. Okay, I got one idea. I probably should have said it, but for anybody who doesn't get the reference, that's the reference to Harper Lee's famous novel, later made into a very famous movie as well, To Kill a Mockingbird, which has nothing to do with mockingbirds necessarily. So, at any rate, there's that one. Booth review delay. NFL catch rules are absurd. Even though it looked like he caught it, he hadn't accepted the ball into his heart. Therefore, incomplete. Yeah, those catch rules, they're just bizarre. There's just no way to know whether anything's a catch or not anymore. It's so strange. And it depends on micro slow-mo to get down to individual milliseconds and whether they have the angle and everything. It's just ridiculous. But that's the best explanation I've seen so far. Hello, Dolly. So this one says, I know we all love Dolly Parton. Yep. But this Jolene lady sounds like the one to get with. And yeah, it makes you think about it. I mean, you can listen to her Dolly Parton song Jolene. I found it on YouTube, and it's the video's got like 80 million views, even though it's just an audio one with an album cover in front of it. But at any rate, yeah, I've always wondered what Jolene was like, just because, geez, she sounds like something interesting. Any rate, wait, what? So Lichess has a Mastodon account, and lichess.org is the open source free chess server. Said among all the games played on Lichess, this is the game where the mated player had the biggest material advantage. So here's the actual game. I'll bring it up in a separate tab here. And you could see that the reason it's so bizarre, if you go through it, let me move up here, is that the time control is 1/2 plus 0. Now, what that means is that each side had 30 seconds for the entire game with no increment. And they call this hyperbullet. Actually, hyperbullet, yeah, if 1 minute per game is bullet, then this is hyperbullet. I mean, it's so blisteringly fast that people move on instinct, they pre-move. And if you get behind, then it's all about beating the time control. So it's nobody ever resigns either, and people will play hundreds of these in a sitting, you know. At any rate, you can see what happened in this one is that black has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 queens, and white just has a couple of pawns, and yet white delivered mate with this pawn right here. The last move was f5, which was checkmate. And I thought, wow, that had to be artificial. But if you look at this, it might have happened for real, although it's nuts. So I don't know. At any rate, I thought you might like to see it. Feel free to check it out if you like. No way that happened by accident. Well, now I'm not so sure, but nicely done even so. I couldn't do it if I tried. Okay, next gag, bad science joke. Someone named 10 on Mastodon said, I asked the librarian if she had a book about Pavlov's dog and Schrodinger's cat. She said it rang a bell, but she wasn't sure if it was there or not, and that deserves... Yeah, definitely get the rim shot for that. I threw in that I assumed the librarian's name was Heisenberg, since he's always in those jokes too, but I can't be certain about that, right? Uncertainty principle. Yeah, I know, terrible. I'll move on. What did you say, Polly? So someone named Talia on Mastodon posted, if you have a parrot and you don't teach it to say, help, I've been turned into a parrot, you're wasting everyone's time. That's good. That's good. Should that be a rim shot? Not really, but I'll give it to her. I mean, it's not really a pun, but it's inspired, but it seems obvious in retrospect. And then with some puns, this is awful. This Twitter feed, Dad Says Jokes, which is one of the places I get my subtitles. Spoiler warning. A little known fact, before the crowbar was invented, crows simply drank it home. Yeah, ouch. It did remind me of one of the similar jokes. What's an astronaut's favorite key on the keyboard? Why, the space bar, of course. Yeah, I'll show myself out. Please tip your waitstaff, try the veal, you know. Okay, the last one here, Mastodons of the World Unite. And this is so many people's experience. Timeline of a new Mastodon user. Day 1, this sucks. Servers are confusing. And why is my feed empty? Day 2, why is there no quote tweet? This is dumb. Day 3, Mastodon better make some changes if it wants to compete with Twitter. Day 7, people are really nice here, and that's been my experience as well. Day 10, loving the no ads and the real conversations. And day 15, the workers must seize the means of production and execute capitalism. I thought that was great. I thought that was really, really good. So I'm going to have to follow that person. I thought that was a great one. At any rate, have a great week, everybody. As a reminder, you can see all my upcoming training courses on the O'Reilly Learning platform at this link, and I have 2 this week. One is making new Java features work for you. That is basically about all the Java changes from versions 8 through 19, and I'm doing that in the APAC time zones, the Asia Pacific one, so it's in the evening for me. And I'm also doing week 1 of our Android development bootcamp, so week 1 of 3, if you're interested in that. You can also see my upcoming No Fluff Just Stuff virtual workshops at this link, but I don't have any of those this week, so I'll skip on that. But those are all recorded, so if you were in the Spring Data one last week, there's a recording available for that. Thank you very much. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. I don't have an animated video with a subscribe button yet, but I'm working on it. So thank you. I hope you have a good week and take care, everybody. See you next week.